Okay, let's go over for a moment now to Derek O'Brien, the Trinamool Congress's Rajya Sabha Parliamentary Party leader. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. O'Brien. It seems at the moment that Nitish Kumar is attempting to do what Mamta Banerjee tried and failed last year, bring the opposition together. Is this Nitish Kumar now becoming the new mascot or the new magnet for opposition forces?
You normally don't make assumptions or wrong assumptions in your question. You just made one today about what Mamta Banerjee tried and failed last year. I don't know what you're talking about. But when did she try and what did she try which failed?
No, she was trying to emerge. No, Derek O'Brien, last year after her Bengal victory, she came to Delhi, she met Sonia Gandhi, met other leaders, and the belief was she was trying to become either the face or the magnet for the opposition. Now Nitish Kumar is attempting it.
Mamta Banerjee went to Delhi after the big win in Bengal, not because A, she wanted to show she was the face, or B, she wanted to be the magnet. Since you like cricket and I like cricket, you needed somebody who's come off a big win to energize the dressing room. Everybody in the opposition was down in the dumps in May 2021. And that's why, to use the cricket analogy, she went into the dressing room inside Parliament and outside Parliament to energize the beleaguered opposition parties at the time. And that's why 2021 was important. Mamta Banerjee has made it very clear, Mrs. Sardesai, in the past, she wants to be the squirrel in the garden. And that's her advice, in fact, to all opposition parties. Let them all be first. The attitude has to be an attitude of squirrel in the garden. In other words, the first task is, what is the first task? Is to democratically remove Mr. Prime Minister Modi, who's been an incompetent Prime Minister on so many ways, on so many issues, and to pitch Mr. Modi against states, chief ministers, strong leaders in states. They will take on Mr. Modi because they are the competent ones, whether you go to Maharashtra or you do Tamil Nadu or you do Bengal, Telangana and the whole lot. So it's not one Mr. Prime Minister versus one opposition candidate. And if you're looking for that photograph where all the opposition leaders put their hands up and clasp, which happened in 2019, no, that is not going to happen. That's not the best way to take on this Prime Minister.
So what you're saying is that you believe, or the Trinamool Congress now believes, that it isn't possible to have a national face against Prime Minister Modi. That's not advisable. You're saying each chief minister or each regional party has to fight the BJP in their own state. So that's a change in strategy, clearly. Clearly, that's the difference between 2021 and 22. Now you all are talking of regional fights against Prime Minister Modi because you've realized a national alternative is not there. That will only expose your disunity.
Let me talk about the unity first, since you quickly jumped into this term, disunity. Let me give you 3-4 solid examples of unity. In the parliament session, everybody was united. We wanted all the opposition parties. What did we want? And we put the government on the back foot. That's why they had to give us a discussion on price rise, because when they weren't allowing us a discussion on price rise inside the house, we took the dharna outside the house. Number two, if you looked at the Congress, Mr. Rahul Gandhi made a speech a few days ago, and I was listening carefully. His entire speech, 80% of the speech was what? Price rise. The messaging is the same. The messaging is happening. We may not be having meetings always. So we need to look at basically two broad issues. One, where has Modi failed not delivering in 2022? No houses for all, no demonetization was a disaster, agricultural income hasn't doubled, no bullet train. These are all his failures, which is now shifted to 2047. And against these failures, we pitch the positive of the state governments which have done well. Even with the state government today who's not in power, let's say Mr. Uddhav Thackeray. And I think the bigger point about, the third point and very crucial point about this opposition unity is when you talk about team opposition, and when I say team opposition, I mean all anti-BJP parties, team opposition, we need to look at who this team is. There is a team in Maharashtra, we believe, that's the best, that's the crack playing 11 in Maharashtra. That's the NCP, the Shiv Sena and the Congress. That's your team opposition in Maharashtra. In Jharkhand, in Jharkhand you've seen it, 48-0. That's team opposition. Where the left is there, the Congress is there, the JMM is there. There's no Trinamool there. That's the good team opposition. In Bengal, you have your the Trinamool. We're going to fight all
What about the
42
left?
seats.
No,
because the
in Bengal,
experiment
what
of
about the
other
left?
team
Will
opposition-
you, this
the
team
left-
opposition, will you hold the hand of Sitaram
What about-
Yechuri?
Of course not. I'll tell you why. Because now let's talk specific about Bengal. You've got to remember that 1 year ago, the Congress and the CPIM in Bengal fought us together. They ended up with 0 seats out of the 294. Now, by what Mother Teresa logic do we just give away seats in Bengal?
Okay.
We don't. We fight all 42, and we can show you what we did against the
So
BJP.
you're saying state level
And then
alliances.
let's look at the other states. Why leave the Congress out? Mr. Sardesai. One sec. One quick point. The Aam Aadmi Party, current Lok Sabha, they don't have any seats in their home state like Delhi, so they have to try and win some seats in Delhi. It's now 7 to BJP, 0 Aam Aadmi Party, and we hope they can do better than that in Delhi. And the Congress have a key role to play. Who's saying the Congress doesn't have a key role to play? All we're saying is the Congress first have to win Karnataka. And there are 3 or 4 other states where it's BJP versus Congress, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Himachal. That's where the Congress must do well. After all these parties do well, we believe that none of these parties, the leaders of none of these parties,
Right.
so don't misunderstand, is going to put up their hand now and say, we are in the race for Prime Minister. We're all on the same page.
Okay.
Prime Minister after 272. One other very crucial point, Mr. Jagan Reddy of the YSR. When that number is around 270, we can't assume that Mr. Jagan Reddy and the YSR will back the BJP. No.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Naveen Patnaik is a great candidate to be the BJP ally. We concede that.
You know, the fact is, Derek O'Brien, the Modi government will say this recipe that you're offering is a khichdi sarkar versus a majboot sarkar. That the BJP is a stable, cohesive force.
I'll give you
What
the
you are
counter.
offering is a khichdi sarkar. Very quickly, 30 seconds.
Yes. In 30 seconds, I will tell you who leads the Majboot Sarkar. The Prime Minister, 2 quick points. One is the incompetent Prime Minister who said he'll deliver by 2022 and now has shifted it to 2047. And the India's biggest pappu, Home Minister. I've given you all the reasons on a video we made which has gone viral. That combination of an incompetent Prime Minister who's changed the deadline to 2047
Right.
and a pappu Home Minister, that's the recipe for disaster. It's a very
Let
bad
me-
tasting
let
dish
me leave
which
it
is
for-
ruining the country and ruining the institutions.
Okay, let's leave it there. Derek O'Brien joining us at the moment there from Kolkata. Thanks very much.